It is often said that the one constant in life is change. And we see change everywhere. We see change in our families, we see change in schools, we even see change in governance. But the one place where we see change the most is the workplace. There are 5 generations working alongside each other today in the workplace. My name is Njenga, and today I shall be diving into how these 5 generations work alongside each other, and as well focus on how we could be on the brink of the greatest collaboration in workplace history. Alrighty, so let us dive in. First, we should look at these 5 generations. Let's take a deeper dive into these generations, into who they are, into what drives them. We have, first off, the silent generation. These folks are known to see stability as a gift and not a given. They are 80 to 97 years old in age, and you will find them predominantly retired, although they will occasionally come into the workforce, into the workboard, into the work setting to do a presentation or two. Why? Because they are very wise and they are very resilient. They're known for their wisdom. Why are they known for the wisdom, you ask? Simple. They have lived through very many historical events, from the First World War all the way up to recently the COVID-19 pandemic. So obviously you've lived for this amount of period of time. You kind of get a thing or two, right? Another thing about them is that they were forged by war and scarcity. And as a result, they are very, very risk averse and disciplined. You're not going to go to a silent generation or person rather of the silent generation and ask them to make a risky investment. It's just not going to be them. Next, we have the baby boomers. These are the people who built the ladders that the rest of us are aiming to climb today in the workplace. They consist of people who aged between 61 and 79 years old, and they are currently in their later stage professionals or later stage careers. So you will see them as CEOs, senior leaders. Some of them are semi-retired, so you'll find a few of them sitting on a few boards of a few companies. And some are advisors, They've also been there, they've been around the block well enough to know how to help things push along further. They grew up in post-war optimism. So after the World War II, there was this sense of optimism, now that all this killing, all this fighting is done, what's next? That's where they grew up in. They also really value work. In fact, for them, work is a combination of the contributions that they give to their work and the worth of the work that they're doing. That is how they see work. They really, really value work. Next, we have the Gen Xers. The Gen Xers are the backbone of today's workforce. They are aged 45 to 60, and you will find them in mid to senior leadership levels, leadership positions, or if not, about to jump onto that position or that level. They are very skeptical of institutions. This could be because as they were growing up, they saw their parents work all the time. They also started to see a rise in divorce rates. I don't know. That's what the research says. They're also very independent, and as a result, they're resourceful. They are the type of people who would survive on an island if they were stranded there. Practical mindset, which I think is a very important asset to have in today's working place as well. The millennials. These are the backbone of today's economy. People such as myself are aged between 29 to 44 years old, They are currently entering senior leadership roles right now, or preparing to enter seniorship roles right now. A distinct feature about millennials is that they were given big promises, but when they came out into the real world, not what it seemed. They were promised that, oh, you get a degree, everything will be smooth sailing, you'll get a job, life will be good. So not the case. As a result, they've had to adapt. They're very adaptable to today's situation, and also they're very purpose-driven. Last but not least, we do have the Gen Zs. These are the digital natives. Now, as much as they're digital natives, we must also remember that they still crave that human interaction. These are people aged 13 to 28, and they are the youngest professionals in today's workforce, either interns or in entry-level roles. They were born into uncertainty, and can you blame them? With everything that they've seen their parents go through, with the recent COVID-19 pandemic that has just happened, with the world getting so increasingly competitive, so much more complex, it's only natural that they'd be so uncertain about their futures. So when you have five different groups of people with different ideologies, different styles of working, you're naturally going to have a bit of friction in the workplace, right? When you see things like communication styles coming up as a bit of a friction, you shouldn't be worried. It's natural. We see people of different generations, Gen Z, for example, tend to be more informal with how they communicate, whereas the older generations, like the baby boomers, Gen Xers, are a bit more formal in how they communicate. Another issue that can come about, which is a biggie actually, is technology adaptation. Gen Zs were born into technology. They lived with it. They know it like the back of their hand. Whereas baby boomers, on the other hand, have had to learn as they go. Learning is often a slow process. So you can see naturally how that friction would come about there. We also have work habits that don't align. Millennials, Gen Zs, bit of Gen Xers, they want that work-life balance. They want that hybrid work style. They want that couple of days in the office, couple of days working from home. Baby boomers, on the other hand, want to be in the office, or more likely, they prefer being in the office Monday to Friday. It's just what they know. So when you see things like this, you're naturally going to see this friction, as I said before, but these are just surface level issues. What I'd like to do is take it a step further. Dig in deeper. Try and determine the root cause of these issues. And I've come up with 3 main challenges: identity, values, and emotion. Identity, or mistaken identity. I'll give you guys a personal story. As I said before, I am a millennial, but I often find that sometimes I see myself agreeing with what Gen Zs have to say. Now, what does that mean for me, especially since I'm towards the end of the millennials? I was born in 1995. So you come across, I found very many times whereby I've been mistaken as a Gen Z because of my ideologies and beliefs, but that's not the truth. And it's not just me who's facing this issue today. I've met countless people who are suffering from the same issue. What does this bring about? Where do you belong? I constantly find you asking myself, which generation do I belong to? You know, is it Gen Z or is it millennials? It's a struggle that I constantly face. People are not seen for who they are, but for the box someone's already put them in. Stereotypes for all these generations have already been formed. So you find that people often just follow the stereotypes rather than looking or talking or even seeing a person for who they are. Boomers, rigid. Gen Zs, unserious. Millennials, untitled, right? These labels really represent the reality Emotional expression gaps. The Harvard Business Review found that 90% of top performers score high in emotional intelligence. Folks, let's face it, today's decisions are not made on facts alone. There is a serious element of emotion that goes into it. So it is something that you cannot ignore anymore. It is a part of our everyday lives, not only socially, but professionally as well. Professionalism once meant stoicism. Today, it means authenticity. Very different definitions here, as you can see. So what happens when you come to the workplace? You suddenly see that Gen Zs, those are the folks who would want to be a bit more, we use the word professional. See how I'm falling into a stereotype here? But Gen Zs, rather, they want to be a bit more informal. They want to express their feelings more. They want a bit of their life into their work life. They want to talk about the issues that they're facing. Whereas an older generation, maybe such as baby boomers, are more reluctant to do that and actually leave the emotions at the door and keep that very structured, professional, formal sort of setting in the workplace. These different comfort levels with emotion do create friction. Lastly, we have different definitions. So, as I said before, 5 different generations, different way of doing things. Of course, naturally, you're going to have the different definitions of things. Loyalty is defined very differently amongst different generations. Among some, it is defined as how long you're going to stay with a company. To others, it is what are you doing by me? Are you doing right by me? Are you giving me the time off that I need? Are you helping me with, let's say, a medical condition? You do that, I'll be loyal to you. See the difference? Another one that's often very different is work ethic or work style or work in general. Older generations want hard work. They want long hours. They want that work put in. Whereas the younger generations, the Gen Zs, the millennials, they would much rather have a productive day at work. Be productive for 4 hours than having to stay in the office for 12 hours. Have that work-life balance. This, to me, is another very serious issue, and this is why we need to do a better job in defining what some of these things mean to each generation. Generations often use the same words, but mean different things. The clash comes from assuming one meaning is universal. So now that we've understood some of the problems, we've looked into the different generations, we've gotten a better understanding of what's going on today with regards to these 5 generations in the workplace, we can then start to come up with a few solutions. Progress comes from listening and learning across the generations. The aim is not to compromise, but borrowing from one another so everyone grows beyond their original limits. We should borrow from each other. We should not look at each other as a negative, but rather as a positive. It's not looking as a baby boomer and looking at them and go, oh, he's too old, he's going to slow me down. Learn from him, and vice versa, right? That being said, I think we need to think about things very different. Hence, the concept of generational borrowing. Borrow boomer resilience to push through challenges. Borrow Gen X is practical mindset to stay grounded. Borrow millennials' adaptability to embrace change. Remember, the one constant in life is change. Borrow Gen Z's boldness to break boundaries. I think we should borrow Gen Z's boldness to speak up more. Borrowing essentially means expansion and not compromise. 5 generations, 1 workplace. The question isn't where you belong, it's what you're borrowing. Thank you very much.